make you so special? Why did he bless you? Think about it. I woke up this morning. Got a smile when I say that shit. I woke up this morning.
All right, so we're live. We're live with Patrick Rosenthal on Jordan's Subjective Perspective, episode number 56.
Hey, what up, dogs?
And I promised one of my buddies, shout out to Joe Ernst, one of my really good buddies. I had a really shitty week, and after talking to him, I feel ecstatic. So thank you for making this podcast better, I guess. And now back to one of my other best friends, Patrick Rosenthal.
Nice to be on here, guys.
So this is actually my first consumption of alcohol in 2018.
Are you shitting me?
I haven't drank like all year, no.
Holy cow.
I wasn't going to drink all semester, but I'm like, I'll have a beer. I'll have a brewski with Patty.
Very nice. Man, this is my first consumption of alcohol since almost 24 hours ago.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's been a while. Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things I take pride in.
You really outplayed yourself.
Yeah, I did. I do what I can for society. And sometimes it's alcohol-based.
So I just wrote up like a few questions kind of like catered to you.
All right, cool.
If you just want to skip it, just say fuck you or
all right.
whatever. You just
Sounds good.
What value has logical thinking brought to your life?
Logical thinking. Well, I'm a computer programmer for everyone who's watching this right now. So programming is kind of all logical thinking. It's like, if this, then that. So, for example, like, if you're working on your computer right now, you hit a button, and if you click on a button, you're doing an if, then that statement. So if you click on this, then it might take you to this web page or, this URL or whatever. But if you type in a certain keyword or something, it's going to take you the other way to a different web page or, some other application. That's all logical thinking. That's how everything in your computer works, down to the zeros and ones. You break everything down, you got two paths. Either you got a true or you got a false. It's pretty much all it is. A 0 or a 1 is going to be your power off, power on. It's all logical thinking, man.
All binary.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, that's the building blocks of everything on your computer.
Do you apply that same thinking to like your own life? Like if I do this, then this will happen. This will be the result of this.
Yeah, I would say, if you want to avoid making bad decisions, you definitely want to think things out. So if you want to weigh out your options. You don't want to immediately rush into something. So, if this is going to happen, you take high risk, high reward. You know what I mean? So, logically speaking, it's if you have high risk here, it's a very good possibility something as bad is going to happen, but it's an even better possibility that something's good is going to happen out of that. So, I pretty much always take the high risk, and
Hey, we're young. Why not?
Yeah. So I mean, logical thinking. Yeah, it's going to be pretty much anything in that general idea. There's, true or false, whatever. I guess I don't know, when you break it down, that's what it is. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious, like, especially because you're one of the most analytical people I know.
Yeah, no, I analyze every situation. I mean, everything I'm in, I'm pretty much thinking if I'm in this situation, what's going to happen based on that. But I think everyone pretty much does that in their own way.
Do you have a creative side to you too?
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of the box. I guess, I don't know. I mean, I think you kind of have to. Like, if I do a lot of investing and whatnot, so you got to kind of think what's going to be the next big thing. And that's the issue with most people investing. They don't understand that no one's going to tell you what to invest in. You got to think, where's the world going, right?
But are you like thinking it through logically, or are you thinking through like kind of more creative?
I think it more abstract. It's like you don't really know what's going to happen with the world, so you got to kind of think Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you could think of that like just in a logical. You can't naturally know what's going to happen next.
You don't think you could logically kind of like begin to connect the dots of like this, if this happens and this happens, this company might blow up. There's going to be a market created for this in the future.
I mean, you could say that to an extent, but things almost never happen.
True.
In a series of events like that. Now, I will say that is true. You can't necessarily guess an entire market per se, but you can pretty well guess the charts that way. So if you look at a certain trend pattern, like if you've got candlesticks on the chart, right? Candlesticks, yeah. So if you've got a double top, right? You got a candlestick that came up once, another candlestick that came back up. Most likely...
No, it's called the double top?
Yeah, double
like
top.
Like two repeatedly going positive?
Not positive. Like, they're kind of like, if you have an uptrend, then it stops, hits a downtrend, and then instead of continuing to downtrend or whatever, it hits another top. So basically, uptrend, stops, goes down, goes back up, equals out with that other top, if that makes any sense. Kind of like a tree.
Yeah, it beat that other
yeah,
high.
So if it breaks above this point here, it's probably going to continue to go up, right?
Okay.
If it doesn't break up above that point that day, there's a very good chance it's about to head south.
Okay.
So that's one example, but yeah. So in terms of the day-to-day market, I think you can definitely judge where it's going to go. But in terms of like the long term, you got to think very abstract. I mean, think like 50 years ago, we would have never thought that transistors were going to be the thing that just completely took our world from like no technology to boom, exponential growth. And
wait, how did they do that? I think you've explained this to me one time in the past, but
yeah. So transistors are basically, all right. So we were just talking zeros and ones.
Yes.
Okay. Everything on your computer is a 0 or a 1. It's either on or off power.
Okay.
And basically, the thing that stores that on or off power is a transistor. It's a little confusing. You have to know a little bit of electrical knowledge to understand how that...
Is this a form of, like, memory storage, or...?
Yeah, okay, memory, right? So, when you hear RAM, right, all that really is just a bunch of transistors. So, it's just electricity going in. There's a little thing, a transistor, looks like this. It's got 3 little prongs on it. I'm not going to explain what those do, because without the electrical knowledge, it won't make any sense at all to anyone viewing this video.
Okay.
But, so you hit the power button, electricity comes in, it pops into this transistor, and it stays there, and it's either a 0 or a 1, so that you got power in there, and then you'll have another one here that might not have power. So say, certain letters correlate to certain zeros and ones. So like, say, I don't know exactly what it is, but say like 10101 or something correlates to an A. Actually, that's not a good example for the computer people out there. Usually you're using bytes, so it'd be 8 zeros and ones or whatever. But moral of the story is that's your transistors right there. So a 0 would be transistor without power in it, another transistor with power in it, blah, 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 blah. You add those all up, and you get your A on the screen or whatever.
Okay.
There's some circuits and stuff that also make that happen, but that's the kind of general idea. It's just electricity popping on, popping off.
So how did this breakthrough, like, how did transistors, like, lead to such a, like, technological breakthrough for us?
So there wasn't really a good way to just sit there and store power in that manner per se. So there was no way to really have like logic, like we just talked about. So if this, then that. So like if so hard to explain, but basically, like I said, all of our circuits are basically just a bunch of transistors connected together. So if electricity comes in here, then it might power this transistor, it might power this one, it But if it comes in a different direction, it's not going to power this one. It's not going to power that one.
So like in result, they made us electronically more like interconnected.
Not interconnected. It just allows us to make digital decisions. I guess would be the way of saying that per se. I'm trying to think of how to really explain that in a good way. I don't know. I mean, like, you really can't do a whole lot with like electricity without it being stored somewhere or another. I don't know how to explain that very well.
That allows us to store the electricity in particular places wherever we choose.
Yeah. So you're storing it in a particular place, and therefore that's what causes it to, display the icon on your screen or whatever. So that's a terrible explanation, but I don't know. It's really confusing. I can't really explain it without going too deep into the electrical.
Modest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to make any sense to anyone viewing this, but but yeah, basically, moral of the story is transistors allow you to have logic in your you can program the computer to do something, whereas electricity, from a general standpoint, without the transistors and stuff, you hook up a wire to a light bulb. It powers the light bulb. That's about it. It's constantly running through there. It's not making decisions to go from here to here to here or not do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just constantly on.
Yeah, because whenever I hear the word like transistor in the past, like it was so abstract to me that I had no fucking clue.
Yeah, that's a horrible explanation, like I said. But basically, the idea is that it allows you to make different decisions from a digital stand. It allows your computer to be programmed to actually do something, not just you hit the power button and it flashes the screen on and stays on forever until you hit the power button again, it turns off or something. That's
good to think about because, like, I know nothing about doing.
But see, that's
nobody does.
And like I said, that I didn't explain that very well at all because it's a lot more technical than that. But the thing is that because the transistors are what are controlling the logic of your computer, that's also what's controlling the speed of your computer. So utilizing nanotechnology, we've gotten to the point where our transistors are so damn small that you have to literally use an electron microscope to actually see one of them.
Is there any way we could get smaller than we already are, or are we pretty much maxed out?
We're close. I think 9 nanometers, I think, is about, I think it's either 7 or 9, is about where you start hitting that point where you can't make them any smaller. It's not actually because you can't physically make them smaller, you can, but there's some electrical aspects at the quantum level that don't allow you to do that legally, per se. The transistors will no longer work the way they should. Their properties change. Nanotechnology is really weird. Once you get down to the nano level, like, a bunch of different objects change the way they work.
Really?
Yeah, it's really strange. But that's one of those things. It's like
all of physics. Once you get
physics, yeah.
Very, very
like electrons
parts.
Electrons start tunneling through things and stuff. So like instead of they jump the gap. It really won't make sense because you guys don't understand how a transistor works, but it starts doing these weird things where it starts like jumping certain things or tunneling through them.
That's crazy.
Per se. Yeah, but that's the issue. You can't get them any smaller.
That's how like subatomic particles, like they just jump from one spot to another.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like that. And the other issue is when you start moving transistors together, right? So if you have a transistor here, whenever electricity is flowing, things tend to emit like an electrical field around it. So if you have a transistor that's right next to each other, and this is not, my two fingers is not close together. I'm talking like nanometers close.
They're hypersensitive to each other.
Yeah, they interfere with each other. So you press the A button, that might no longer be the A button anymore because it interfered with a transistor and it does some weird crap on your computer or something like that. But anyways, transistors. The reason your computer can function so fast now is because those transistors have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can make a lot of calculations happen really, really fast. Like millions of calculations happening in like 1 second.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. And there's parallel processing and stuff they've done, and graphene's going to come in there at some point. And do you know what graphene is?
No.
Graphene is like, It's like the next wonder material, right? So it's like,
Oh, graphene?
yeah, graphene.
I remember you explaining it one time and you were thinking about investing in it, right?
Yeah, I
Is
want
that
to,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking in that area. But, yeah, so graphene's kind of like the next wonder material. So it's basically, do you know what graphite is? You ever heard of graphite?
Yes.
Okay.
Is graphite the stuff that, like, the alternative to lead that they put in pencils?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you took the tip of a pencil.
It's probably because of me. I was eating the lead.
Yeah, right. If you wouldn't have done that, God damn it, we'd be a lot further in our technology process. This computer would be way ahead of the game here. Yeah. So right. So if you took the tip of a pencil to chop that off or whatever, and zoomed in a lot to see what that's actually made of, basically there's sheets of carbon in there. So there's these sheets of carbon that sit like this, and there's these bonds that basically hold the sheets together.
Okay.
But the sheets are graphene, so the 3D structure is graphite. But if you were to pull one of those sheets out of there, the sheet itself is graphene, and it's like the strongest material in the world. So it's stronger than diamond. I mean, it's literally the strongest material in the world. But the thing is, it's on top of it being the strongest material in the world, it's also extremely light. So it's like 6 times lighter than steel.
So how is it, like, in comparison to, like, carbon fiber?
Carbon fiber is... I'm probably not the best person. But
That's
I'm going to make a false
topic.
I'm going to make a false assumption that I think carbon fiber it's carbon based, but I think carbon fiber is a mixture of fibers of some sort in there.
I just know it
might
was
be
really
wrong
expensive.
about
With, like,
that.
I got into paintballing at one point in life, and I remember, like, carbon fiber was
Well, yeah,
the most
they use
effective.
carbon fiber because carbon fiber is really light. That's the same idea with
Right.
graphene.
And they would
Carbon-
use it in, like, BMX bikes, too, because you use it in
Yeah,
BMX.
carbon's actually lighter than air, so that's why, like, when you throw when you're using a carbon fiber or anything, it's always really light because
Okay.
of that. But the thing is, like, the reason a pencil shatters so easily is because, or a pencil lead shatters so easily, is because, like I said, the graphite itself is made up of those sheets with those 3D bonds and stuff. So, it's really easy to break the bonds, and they go all over the place. But the actual graphene itself is really, really strong. Like, you could literally run like a goddamn truck over.
So
it or
I'm
something.
probably going to butcher this, but, like, so the graphene is establishing the bonds between the graphite, like the carbon bonds. But
No. Graphite is the word graphite is a mixture of the graphene sheets, and those sheets are being held together by bonds.
by carbon bonds.
Yeah,
Or was it
they're
carbon?
Yeah, they're carbon bonds, I think.
So so basically, if we were able to, like, extract the carbon bonds, then it would just be graphene.
Yeah.
But
The
we're
sheets themselves.
unable to do that.
They can do it. The way they do it now, I think, is something. They use like a chemical process. It's like like an evaporative process. So basically, they take like chemicals that have carbon in them, and they evaporate the chemical, like they heat it up basically. So only at a certain like boiling point and stuff, I think only carbon will come out of that.
Only carbon will evaporate. Okay.
Yeah, and then eventually it drops and goes back into its normal form, but like once it cools down. But yeah, I think that's kind of how they do it. They evaporate it out of a certain chemical. I don't know what all they use. But yeah, but the issue they've had, I think, mostly with graphene is it doesn't. They're having an issue with making a lot of it per se. So like they can make these little like strands, and these strands are really small, but they like stick together and stuff, but they like can't figure out how to make like a bunch of it.
Okay.
So they can kind of use it to intertwine in something. So like they might take graphene and dump it into your computer or your car or something. Like they'll mix it in with another material, and therefore it'll make it stronger, but it's not fully graphene. It'll just be mixed in there at this point until they can figure out how to make an entire sheet.
So it's probably crazy expensive if there's a scarcity of it.
Yeah, I don't know how expensive it is really, because it's just carbon, and carbon's everywhere. but I think the manufacturing process right now is really expensive because they don't know how to make it per se easily. But the point I was trying to make there from the very beginning was graphene is also like one of the best conductors in the world. So conductor is something that conducts electricity,
meaning that electricity can move extremely quick. And
okay. So if you have a wire, say this is a wire, normally when electricity flows through it, flows is actually a bad word because no one really completely understands how that works either. But
it's flow, dude. It's flow.
Right. If you're doing this, the electricity moves much quicker.
Dude, I rap, dude. I know what flow is.
Yes.
No question me, dog.
But basically, so if electricity flows through a wire, there's resistance in the wire. So,
so that's ultimately going to slow down the.
Yeah, how much? What resistance does basically is when electricity goes through the wire, if there's a lot of resistance, it'll emit a lot of heat, and the heat, due to the heat being released, you lose electrical energy from the heat, if that makes any sense at all.
Sorry, I just thought of a joke. I don't know. It was like the comedian was referencing like stand-up comedy, and he was referencing like sex or something, and he like referred to sex as like exchanging friction with a stranger or something. I don't know why that came up, but I just thought that's what he said. Yeah, that's why I was smiling.
Yeah, so, okay. But yeah, no, I mean, so that's kind of the idea. But the thing is with graphene is it doesn't really do that. So graphene, like literally, there's almost no resistance at all. Actually, a good example is like the way you get power to your house. You lose a lot of electricity in the process. You generate it, and you generate it at a power plant or whatever, and you kick up the voltage like really, really high. The reason you do that is because you don't lose as much electricity when it's getting sent to your house, because not as much heat is emitted from that. But with graphene, like I said, there is almost no resistance. So I mean, it like literally you could send electricity all the way from wherever, and you're barely losing anything sending that all the way down there, and it also transports it quicker. So your computer would work faster, per se. It would also be a lot more efficient. Would be another big thing. I mean, quicker to an extent, but it would be you wouldn't need a gigantic battery per se to power the whole thing, because it wouldn't be using as much electricity whenever it's moving from transistor to transistor.
It's like a superconductor. Wow.
Yeah, they actually call it a superconductor, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'm just not coming up with these things.
Yeah. No, I think that actually might be the term. But yeah, so that's kind of the basis behind graphene and why.
Dude, that is extremely interesting. Once they can make it in abundance, we might.
Yeah, and like I said, that doesn't apply just to your computers. I mean, it's going to make electronic components a lot quicker, but it's also going to be used on everything. Cars, suits. Actually, they have a suit made out of graphene. It's a bulletproof suit.
Wow.
It's like $20,000.
Wow.
Yeah, but but it's light. Remember, graphene's light, so it's not very thick, but yeah, you can shoot a bullet at it. And it won't.
Is it pretty malleable? Like if I was trying to.
Yeah, it's flexible too. So, that's the other thing. Okay, so.
Really?
Yeah. So the idea is it's transparent too. So, the idea is right. Like we have our cell phone right now, which is a solid piece of glass.
Right.
But with graphene, you could theoretically make a phone that's flexible or expandable or whatever. You could wear it on your wrist, transform it into a necklace or
so are you kind of
stupid.
Implying that that's the feature of phones as well?
They can use it for anything. It doesn't have to be anything. Phones. It could be TVs. It could be whatever. But the moral of the story is you could make this whole table out of graphene or whatever.
And there is an abundance of it because it's carbon based.
Yeah, carbon's everywhere. I mean, we're inhaling carbon. You know what I mean?
But the problem is that we just don't have an efficient way to really
manufacture it right now. Yeah, well, and the thing is, honestly, I don't. As much as I'd love to invest in it right now, which actually this is probably the best time to invest in it because if it blows up, you're gonna get in late. But the where was I going with that?
You said you wanted to invest in it, but this will be a good time. There's a but. There was somewhere I was going with that. It's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that.
Happened to us all. We can all relate. You this will be the best time to invest.
Where was I going with that? Dude, I don't know. I totally lost my train of thought. I was gonna. If I remember it, I will tell you later on. But I can't think of where I was going with that.
It's gonna pop up on our way to
Yeah, Ballpark Village for real, dude.
We're gonna be cruising down the street.
No, I'm mad. I don't even know where was I was going somewhere great with that. That
Graphene, you'd invest.
damn, where was I going with that? Oh, okay, gotcha. Right, I remember where I was going with this. The reason this may not necessarily be when it's going to blow up is because, like any other technology, the way most corporations or businesses who create computers or phones or whatever, the reason they stay in business is because every year they can create a new product. You know, once they start implementing things like graphene, they hit that ending point. They don't have an ending point, so they'll find something else. But
you're saying like a tipping point, like the everything isn't optimal.
Yeah,
working.
right. It's gonna be very hard to top that. You know what I mean? Now
I'm thinking Apple right now. I don't know if you're thinking Apple.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah. So it's gonna be hard to top that, and that's the thing with the transistors, right? They're trying to push those to the max while they can, make them smaller and smaller, reposition them, do a bunch of bull crap, so they can get as much use out of those transistors as long as they. I mean, that's been going for the last 50 years or whatever. It's worked well for them, and then they're gonna move from transistors to fiber optics or something probably. Well, the transistors will probably still be used, but fiber optics will probably be the means of communicating between different components and stuff. Because do you know how fiber optics works?
No, I'm not familiar.
All right, let me explain that to the viewers as well. So fiber optics is basically just light. So if you have your computer right now, whenever you're communicating on the internet, or the internet's just a bunch of computers connected together. So say you go to Google right now, you type in google.com, you hit enter. That goes from your computer, sends a signal out of your computer, it goes to your router, it sends that to your internet service provider, Charter, AT&T, whatever. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel of crap, but basically it moves that signal all the way from here in Missouri to, California or wherever their servers are. They probably have one stationed right next to our house because it's Google, but the idea is it moves to wherever their servers are. That process is fast, but it's not very fast. It's relatively quick, but the thing, and that's because of resistance, right? You send electricity through a wire and it hits resistance and it doesn't move very quickly. But
right.
If you use light, you're moving at almost the speed of light. There's some resistance there too with the way it bounces through. Basically, you send light through these kind of like glass, which is the fiber optic.
So would graphene not be applicable there, or
graphene? I think graphene would be. I'm not sure I think graphene would be faster, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
So what's the material they would use to move these light? These
that's
photons?
what. So fiber optic cable is glass. So that's what that is. So basically, instead of you sending a signal out of this wire, this is the power cord, but actually in this case it's a Wi-Fi signal, which I'm not going to explain all that crap. But basically, you send a signal out of this computer and it goes through a bunch of wires till it ends up in California. What would happen is you would send a signal out of your computer, which they already have this. They're already implementing this everywhere. It's really, really fast internet. It sends basically a light signal out of your computer, so it emits a thing of light. It goes through this glass tube, more or less. It's not really a tube, it's just glass. Light flows through the glass. And it goes, same way. It goes all the way to Google's servers. It just goes really, really quick because instead of moving at the speed of the electricity with resistance and stuff, it's moving at the speed of light. So
it's not moving through a wire. It's just moving.
It's moving through glass. If that makes any sense.
But they're like wires, but it's glass material.
Yeah.
The only thing changing is the material that it's moving through.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So and you're moving photons instead of sending an electrical signal through it. An electrical signal would be electrons moving from one thing to the other, whereas you're actually sending like light through the tube.
Wow.
If that makes any sense.
And can you do this simultaneously for like multiple servers?
Oh yeah. No, they're already implementing this everywhere. You can almost get it. You can get it. I don't know. You can't really get it around here, but there's places in St. Louis already that have fiber optics implemented. But what I'm saying is that that's on a bigger scale. Right now they're implementing fiber optics for internet service providers and stuff. So the wire that runs from your house to wherever Charter is located, or AT&T or whatever, they're implementing that. So like whatever's running through your neighborhood, they're putting fiber optic in there, which is really, really fast. But what I'm saying is they're going to make that on the nano level. So they'll have fiber optics not communicating just from there to there outside, but from transistor to transistor. So
wow.
It'll be like super duper quick. That's at least what I think they're going to do. I know they've like kind of, I haven't seen a whole lot of companies that have released that, but I haven't done enough research. I'm sure there probably is already crap.
So essentially they're just speeding it up in any way they possibly can, in the fastest
exactly.
way possible.
Yeah, and like I said, I think graphene would still be quicker, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Because you still have resistance with light. You wouldn't have almost any resistance with graphene. I don't know.
Isn't it wild that this topic is applicable to every single person, but like those who actually understand it are so finite, like so limited amount of people that actually understand what's going on.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on. I mean, I understand from a high level view what's going on, but yeah, no, I mean, even the people who are working on them only understand it to an extent. Because, like I said, I mean, I know we've had this conversation before. Everything you're working on your computer is built up from a previous infrastructure, if that makes any sense. So,
right.
The computer chip that is in your computer, I'm sure, was not built completely from scratch. They had a template from the last processor they made. They added a few things on. They tweaked it a little bit. And then they released it again. It's a little faster. The guy who did the tweaking on that probably has no clue how that entire processor works or what. It's like your car.
He just knew how to improve it. He just knew that's all.
He knows. Yeah, you only have to learn a certain portion of things. I'm not an electrical engineer, so I don't want to be speaking for those people doing processors specifically. But it's like your car. Like if you look at a car, a Toyota or something. Most Toyotas are a combination of parts from previous cars. Like you've probably seen in your mom's van or something. If you've ever had a Toyota, there might be something on the steering wheel. That button they've been using on the steering wheel to change the radio buttons or something.
Right.
That's the same button they've been using for 10 years. You know what I mean? There's no need to improve that or really even understand how that works per se.
Kind of the
you need to understand how it works to an extent.
Like competition as well. It's kind of the beauty.
Well,
of
it
that.
saves time. But the point is, like, even with like computers is like programming. Like I couldn't tell you how the code I'm writing works down to its lowest level because I don't have a clue. How
you only know how to improve it, which is all that matters.
I know how to write it from a high level perspective. I know how to write the human readable code that says if this menu comes up, then do this calculation and display this or whatever. It's a little more technical.
Would it even be worth your time to like go into depth? Like it's
the computer does everything for you. You don't even have to know how it works. You just hit a button, right? And it takes all that human readable crap, breaks that down into some more cryptic stuff that someone had to figure out at some point.
Right.
And then, which companies still improve this stuff, but most normal programmers, like application programmers at a corporation or something, who are not programming the program that you write programs on, if that makes any sense, don't even have to understand how it works. You just type your normal code from a high-level perspective saying, do this, do that. You hit a button, and then the computer takes it, breaks it down into some more cryptic crap, and then breaks it down even further into your physical zeros and ones, and then the actual electricity flows through all the stuff.
This is crazy to think about.
But it's like it's so much. There's so much infrastructure there that we could never this is the issue with like a solar flare and stuff, is what I was saying. I think is how this came up a long time ago. If a solar flare hits all of us, we are screwed.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah. Wait, explain what a solar flare is again.
Solar flare is just a bunch of energy. The sun produces a bunch of energy, and if that energy hits our components on the Earth, it basically wipes our electrical components. In some cases, it's not a big deal. It just screws with satellite signals and stuff. Because like when even this Wi-Fi, it's really just kind of an electrical signal going through the air. You don't see it physically, but that's what's happening, and that's why everything can communicate and whatnot. So a solar flare, a light one would screw up your signals and stuff going back and forth, but a heavy one would like screw over everything. Like it would break all of our technology.
Would it screw over everything on only one side of the Earth? The side
it depends how big it is. Apparently, I think we read this. If it's big enough, it can hit the entire Earth or multiple Earths. If it's like
then all of humanity's fucked, right? Like technology.
If it was big enough, and it hit the entire Earth, we would all be fucked.
Okay.
Like literally, like we'd be back to the Stone Age because because it's not because we're not smart.
But would it kill us? Like would it like?
No. I don't know. It depends what the situation is. I mean, if you're driving a car and it shuts off and you're about to go off a cliff.
I'm outside, just sitting outside.
I don't know. I don't know the physics behind all that crap. Okay. I don't know if the particles or whatever would penetrate like our body or something. I don't know. But in terms of the electrical stuff, yeah, it would screw over everything. Everything would stop working pretty much. That's electrical, and that would put us basically back to like the 1800s or something. Because like the thing is, it's not that we're not smart enough to figure all this crap out. There is someone who has the resources to figure everything in this phone out, probably on the Earth. But the issue is, our processors I was just talking about are built from something that is electrically ran, right? So at one point, someone probably had to hand construct those transistors together, and then that made a machine that made smaller transistors, and then that machine made another one, or whatever. You know what I mean? But we're at the point where everything is made from a machine that runs off electricity that was built from something else. So our infrastructure's been built up so much that we're like, we would literally have to go in by hand and basically remake all this crap. We'd have to make the first thing that built the smaller transformer and built transistor.
Go back to the Model T with cars, everything.
Yeah, well, and our cars wouldn't run anymore because everything's fuel injected.
So hypothetically speaking, right now at this point in time, if this solar flare was to come down and like mess everything up, like hypothetically speaking, we would be able to figure it out. But let's say we're so deep into like this whole everything, and we're so technologically advanced 500 years from now. I mean, things are increasing exponentially. So we get to that point, everybody's completely ignorant what's going on at even like today's times of like how to like reboot these things. Mm-hmm. We're so advanced and everything shuts down like that. What happens? Well,
I think we're even more screwed in that situation because right now we have people working in our businesses that have, they have the mental knowledge still from when, there's people right now who are 70 or 80 years old, so they've been living before all those machines were created. They understand how all that stuff works before all the machines made it. But
which is really, this is off topic, but I think it's a very cool time that we're living in, that we get all these different perspectives on technology.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is,
we're gonna get to a point that like our generation's the oldest ones and whatnot, and like all we've known is the internet. All we've known is X, Y, and Z. It's weird to think of.
Here's the issue, though. Like, especially, this would be an issue now, but like it's going to be an even bigger issue in however many years you said, because basically all our knowledge, right? Whenever we go, we already have the term Google it, right?
True.
So most of our information is stored on that. Most of the crap I've learned in my life has been on that. So when that goes out, we no longer have that data. All of our data is gone, and this is why data is such a big thing. One of those corporations gets hacked. That's why they lose millions of dollars, because their whole company it's a company, but most of it's just data. That's why it works. That's why Google knows everything about you, and they can make all these cool-ass things work, is because they have so much data, they know everything about your life. They wouldn't have all that without it, but that's the thing, you know, so if we...
Stay woke.
If we have a solar flare, and we no longer... And we start storing, at some point we're going to, you know, we might lose all those books, all the physical copies of books we had about how to do electrical engineering and stuff. No one's brain is perfect. They don't remember things perfectly. So if all those people who understood all that knowledge are gone, and all the books are gone, we're in a real bind, because no one really knows how to do it from scratch.
Do you think anybody's thinking about this hypothetical catastrophe that could possibly happen?
I mean, there's people who are thinking about it, I'm sure, but there's no one who can do anything about it. I mean, they're just boned. I mean, really, what are you going to do? What would anyone do? Who has the mind power to memorize every piece of information that's ever... This doesn't just apply to computers. I mean, yeah, we're going to be screwed that we can't rebuild the computer. We're not going to have any medical knowledge. We're not going to... You got to keep in mind, doctors aren't gods either. Doctors, I know that you think they're gods. They walk in there and they're like, you need to do this and that, but half the time they're Googling shit too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not like literally learning how to do this, but they already know how to pretty much perform a surgery or something, but they don't necessarily know how much medication to always give you. You know, they go and research they go in their little database that tells them, you know, you need to give this dosage based on this.
And they're probably taught to speak with confidence. Like this is what you need. You need this amount. You need 20 milligrams of instant release Adderall.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't blame them. I mean, no one can remember all those specific little increments of how much crap you need to give someone. But that's an issue. Like I said, in the future, if all this goes out, we have no medical knowledge. We have no knowledge just in general. I mean, mechanics do it. How do I fix my car, man? I go YouTube it. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to be able to pretty much do anything.
Dude,
anymore.
That's just so weird to think about. Like, our dependency just grows and grows by the day. By the day, it's growing. And like, throughout all of humanity, too. Because, I mean, the older generations are dying off. More younger generations are...
Well, think about this. We wouldn't even have... I mean, right now we probably have documents of everything, but say in 500 years we don't have physical copies of anything anymore. We don't have... Who are we if we hit the solar flare? Where's your social security number at? Who's Jordan Fischer? You know what I mean? Like, no one really has an identity anymore either. Like, everything's gone. You know? So...
Our dependency might lead to our demise. That's crazy to think about.
And I never thought about that until this conversation.
Dude, also, like, I've been researching this thing. I've never heard of it. They've known about it since 2004. It's actually pretty fucking insane. It's called the Apophis. It's a meteor that is like circling our solar system as well. And in the year, I think it's April 13th, which is actually Friday the 13th of the year 20. Yeah, we're fucked. Yeah. Of 2029, we are going to come in a very close collision with this meteor called Apophis. It's spelled, if anybody wants to look it up, it's spelled Apophus. But we're going to come extremely close to this thing, and basically, if it falls in some it's like a very slight chance, like 1 in 200,000 or something like that. I might have that number wrong, but it's a very they describe it as a gravitational hole or something, like a keyhole. I think that's what the article I was reading said. But if it falls in that, which again the probability is extremely low, then it's going to hit us in 2036, 7 years time, and then we're fucked.
Damn.
And I've never heard of this in my life. And this was discovered by, I think, NASA or whatever back in 2004.
Well, and that's the thing with the solar flares too. Actually, we dodge a lot of them. Like, we have them like often, but like they just don't always hit the Earth. They just usually pass us.
Right.
or something.
Well, it makes sense. We're in a 360-degree radius. Like,
yeah, because the sun's always. It's not necessarily always just hitting the Earth. It's hitting everything. So.
And then you add like up and down and all that. Does that make sense? Like we're not. It would have to shoot at our direction, and then it would have to shoot at like latitude and longitude, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not describing that well. Like right, left, up, down.
No, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean that they're kind of, I guess they're all over the place, but we don't. And there's people who monitor this stuff, who monitor the solar flares and stuff.
Yeah, but how much time are we really gonna have?
I don't know.
How much time are we gonna have, and how much time are they gonna?
I don't even know what we would do. I mean, maybe they do have some type of precautions we can take. I don't know. I mean, you could maybe deflect the signal somehow. You know, kind of like global warming, right? The idea of using aerosols like to deflect the heat or the light from coming in and stuff. It kind of takes it and cools things down, per se. I don't know how to explain it. That'd be kind of the same idea. I guess maybe if you had some type of shield that would deflect the solar flare around the entire Earth or something.
That sounds a lot more plausible than like a meteor, like an asteroid, like deflecting that. Because I've heard of like technology, like billionaires like thinking about making that kind of technology. But a solar flare, I don't know. Just based on my limited knowledge, it sounds more credible.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would be something where you would have to, like if there's a physical material that can make that happen, or if you would have to kind of cancel out the signal, like you'd have to produce a signal of the same power to
kind of counteract it, and then maybe just send it to a halt.
Yeah, sort of. I don't know if that's possible. I'm guessing no, considering it seems like a gigantic amount of energy, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm sure there's someone researching this that has way more knowledge than I do about this subject.
Somebody a lot smarter than us.
Someone a lot smarter than us on that subject. Everyone's smart in their own way,
yes,
right?
Yes.
This is for the viewers, man. Never call yourself. Don't put people on a pedestal and tell them that they're smart or whatever, because everyone's equal.
Yes.
Give a thumbs up.
Especially celebrities, especially hot women, which is actually funny because we were talking about that one night. Like how every hot girl is a celebrity in their own way. They're like a B-list celebrity. They really are. Like,
they are. Yeah, no. Totally agree with that. Where are we at with the questions here?
I was gonna hit you with one more because it's 9.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, all right.
So I'll hit you with one more question.
We'll do it real quickie.
Ballpark Village.
All right.
Yeah, we got a night out with the boys.
Yes, sir.
I'm out with the boys.
Hey, boys. That's like B-O and like 6 or 7 eyes.
Yeah.
And an S probably. Maybe a Z.
Maybe 8, 9, 10. Who knows?
Yeah. Right. I don't know how many Z's are at the end of that. Boys.
At least 6.
Yeah, I'd say probably 6 to 12.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's a great range.
It is counting, really. Honestly. Once our technology goes out, we're not going to be able to text that to anyone anyway.
True.
So our player is going to screw us over.
We're fucked.
Yeah. Oh, well.
We just need a big tent. A big tent overlooking all of humanity.
I think so, too.
Or let's just dig. Let's just dig down, get some tunnels going. Elon Musk style.
Yeah.
Hey, I bought a hat. No, I didn't.
Until we dig far enough and we hit the center of the earth. Then we die because it's really hot. Yeah, see, you really can't win. That's the issue.
All of these outcomes, it require humanity to be fucked in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, pretty much, man. All right.
It does make you think how many more generations we have left. But
I'd say at least 1.5.
We're such a cynical race, or not even race, just like species. Just we're so cynical about like our own existence. It's weird. Like a lot of people are, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty optimistic guy, but like I'm
me
cynical
too,
as well.
yeah.
I guess we're more realist more than anything. It's like the real alternative that all of this could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like I woke up this morning, you know.
I woke up this morning. You guys gonna hear that intro at the beginning of this?
Oh yeah. So if every neuron in a human was accurately simulated in a computer, would it result
I'm gonna have to ask you what
in human
this means.
consciousness?
Say this again.
I'm gonna rephrase this question because fuck the way that's
I'm not sure that's even accurate.
Okay, so let's just say that like you could 3D print like neurotransmitters, everything like.
Yeah, you remember they'll always buy a 3D printer, print a 3D printer, and then return the 3D.
Oh shit! I've never heard that before.
Classic. Anyways, go.
What's the return policy?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Seriously. Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah.
In the words of Patrick Rosenthal. So, all right, let's say like for hypothetical purposes that you could recreate, restructure on like a cellular level, like a human, and let's say you, for example, you are recreated and every cell in your body is completely recreated. Would that result in an identical human consciousness for you? Would that define you as you?
I don't know. I mean, theoretically, I guess you would. You mean like? Would you like think the same? Is that kind of what you're?
I guess.
Like, would you be the same person?
Let's go off that. Yeah.
I would say, yeah. Theoretically, you should think exactly this. If everything physically is the same, you should. I mean, if everything in your brain down to the smallest particle is exactly the same, you should think identical to how. It's basically making a clone, pretty much. But I mean, yeah. So at the very instance that you create the clone, or whatever you want to call the thing you just explained, I would say you would think exactly the same. But if you put this one and this one in two different places, and they start having experiences, then they wouldn't think the same, because most people's lives are based off experiences.
It'd be kind of the same deal as like switched at birth. Like
Yeah.
genetically, you're similar.
Yeah, because your brain actually is like forming all day long. Like connections in your brain are constantly reforming. I can't remember what the name is for that, but basically, yeah, your brain's always kind of reforming through the day. So what I'm getting at is the second you created those clones, they would be exactly the same, but then the second you put them in a different environment, once one person learns this, his brain structure actually changes. So you think differently.
So you'd probably end up...
So you're a different person the second you put them in a different environment, they experience something, probably.
It's a nature versus nurture kind of deal.
I guess, yeah.
I would agree with that.
I think physically that's how that would work. But yeah, I think the second you create them, they should be exactly the same. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and then any time, even if they're in the same environment, like hypothetically speaking, like, I mean, you and I are having a different experience right now based on what comes out of my mouth, how you're going to interpret that. Like, we're in the same room, but we're having a different experience.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it would be the second that you create it, they would be the same. But
That's
like
it.
2 seconds, I mean, even like you said, even if they're in the same environment, relatively speaking, like if the clone is on this side of the table versus that side of the table, it's gonna have a different experience. So if you're one clone and I'm one clone, we've already screwed up because I'm looking at the cabinet over there, you're looking at the window. You know what I mean? You have a different perspective of something. So
I'm not looking at the window. I'm looking at my reflection in the window.
You're the realist.
I'm just so goddamn sexy.
You're a very attractive man. But yeah, no, I mean that's what I would get out of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
After asking that question, it wasn't as like elaborate or complex as I thought. But I like it.
I broke it down for you.
Exactly.
Yep.
I might just never ask that question again.
All right. I'll warn you.
Cool. Well, you want to call us quits? Good.
Yeah, I think it's
BPV.
BPV. Yeah.
BPV.
That is the acronym for this crazy place we're going to, Ballpark Village. I'm sure you guys all know about it. Is your camera still on?
St. Louis.
Oh.
Yeah, that died. My camera died. Well, it had like 40 something minutes on the whatever time, so
cool.
We'll just overlap this with some audio. It's all good.
Perfect. Yeah, solid. All right.
Oh, by the way, Pat was on episode number 25 as well. If you want to check that one out,
I did make a few comments.
He did.
And it went on to some story.
You're totally right. That one was that was a good one. I enjoyed it, but like especially with like Will and Connor being like a little intoxicated.
We were all pretty well. I don't know.
I don't remember being that drunk.
Maybe
I think
we
I was
weren't.
like, I think I might have been drinking. Were you drinking?
I was drinking. I don't think. Maybe I hadn't drank that much. I just remember we were going on some story or something. Kind of went off.
That's what I.
It was good though. I mean,
it was a lot of fun, and those dudes are fucking awesome.
Yeah,
those guys are
cool
awesome.
Guys. Yeah.
It was just I think I learned from that like particular episode that now if I have like more than 3 people, I'm like, yo, like we need to be very considerate of each other's time. We can't just be like exchanging rants, like let each other talk kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, for sure. We all got off topic on that one.
Yeah, we got off topic. We just it was kind of like got into a thing where we just try to shout over each other because I was the same.
That was hilarious. I was cracking up when I was watching that. And I was like, dude, we were just literally like trying to talk over each other. No one can hear anything.
Because even me, I was guilty of it just as much.
Yeah, I thought it was funny though. Just watching it. Everyone else probably didn't get the humor out of that, but I found it funny. Yeah.
But it was a goofy one on top of that too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah. I got nothing to say. This is episode number 56 of Jordan's Subjective Perspective. Thank you for watching so much. I appreciate it. Do you have anything to say?
I don't think so, guys. It's been real. I hope you guys learned some knowledge that I sort of knew, sort of didn't know. You probably want to fact check like half of that crap and actually go and read one of those electrical engineering books because I didn't completely explain that very well, but hopefully you got a high level view of what I was trying to get at. So have a nice day.
I think you did a good job articulating my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Love you guys.
Yeah. I love you more. All right, cool.
Hang up, man. Hang up.
See you. Yeah, hang up the phone. Bye.